I mixed hundreds and hundreds of tracks, and I found the 7 reverb mistakes most producers make that are making your track sound nutty. Stay till the end to get a special bonus tip that you must know. Using reverb can be cool, I know. It instantly spices up any sound, but it's also the easiest way to ring your mix. Sometimes we tend to add a lot of reverb on sounds when it's not really necessary. This often happens when we mix sounds in solo, so instead of mixing in solo, try to do it on the context of the song. Similar to this is when we have long decay times. The decay time is basically how long the tail of the sound will be. The problem here is that long tails can clash with other sounds on the mix and can make your track sound messy. A nice technique here, and what I actually do sometimes, is to work with audio. Try to export the sounds, convert them into audio. This way you can have a visual reference of the tails and the sounds. An extra tip here that can help you for sure. Did you know that most of the time the key to a clean mix is the sound selection? Well, we have many sample packs that you can download for free. Very convenient, right? Listen, having many different reverbs on one project can add madness to your track. Sometimes we keep adding different reverbs on different channels when we are producing, so if you want to apply similar effects for all of those sounds, the best thing is to use the same reverb with the same settings. And this leads us to the next point. Use sends. Sends are channels that can be used to process effects completely wet. Basically, you can add a reverb on a send channel, make it 100% wet, then send a little bit of the dry signal to the send, and you will have the dry and the wet signal on different channels.
Broke down, lost, now where will it send?
This is pretty useful to work with them and to process them differently. And by doing this and using the same reverb for most of your sounds, you'll end up with a much more cohesive mix because all the frequencies are being processed by one similar plugin. Reverb adds extra frequencies, even if you removed some of them before. Actually, that's what reverb about. Reflections. So reverb can add some frequencies. If you don't take care of those added frequencies, well, that's what can ruin your mix. So be sure to process the wet signal. As we got our send channel, we can now go here where we process the wet signal, the reverb, and we can add an EQ to remove those frequencies we don't want, which will give us extra space in the mix. Okay, this tip is a must, especially if you're using reverb on vocals. Sometimes you want your vocals to have a nice tail, but you want them to sound clear at the same time. If you add the reverb directly to the vocal and increase the wet level, you can get the tail but lose clarity. A great technique is to sidechain the reverb to the original source, so we'll add a sidechain compression in the send channel and trigger it to the source, the vocal. Now every time the vocal is sounding, the reverb is reduced, and after the vocal is released, the reverb is increasing the volume.
Prepare yourself. This is the rave. Prepare yourself. This is the rave. Prepare yourself. This is the rave.
Okay, this is not actually a thing that can bring your mix, but I wanted to include it here because it's very important to improve your music. Don't use the same reverb on every track. Try and experiment with different reverbs and modes. Every plugin has its own texture and settings, and they can add different character to your sounds. Be sure to experiment, find your favorites, because you'll be surprised on what reverbs can do. And as I said, I have a bonus tip for you. If you're interested in improving your music production skills and techniques, you can access to literally thousands and thousands of free tips and tricks on our Instagram. It's free, so it might be worth the try. You can follow us, and if you want to unfollow, I completely get it, it's not a problem. If this was helpful in any way, subscribe for more tips like this, and if you want to keep improving, here you have some tips that will help you improve. I'm the X guy, and I see you there. Bye.